Good, everybody, it's your boy Wavy. Stay Wavy TV. Subscribe, thumbs up the video, click that bell for notifications. I want to talk to y'all about some NBA basketball. So the title of this video is Russell Westbrook needs to request a trade from the Houston Rockets. Why? Okay, so let's start off this way, right? So, Houston, the Rockets just played OKC for the first time this year. I watched the game. I really thought it would be interesting to see how James Harden and Russell Westbrook played against, because both of them used to be on that team. But Russell Westbrook, he's fresh off of the team. Obviously, he was traded for Chris Paul. A lot of people thought that Chris Paul was going to be on another team. A lot of people didn't believe Chris Paul was going to start this year on OKC because Chris Paul is trying to chase a title. Chris Paul was trying to really get a title while he was on the Rockets. And they got very close. That 1 year where they were up a couple games on the Warriors, they should have won that year. But unfortunately, Chris Paul pulled his hamstring, so he was unable to, finish that series. And then the next year, they lost early, lost in like the first or second round. So just like everybody else, I thought that the Rockets were gonna pretty much just like spank the Thunder. I thought they were gonna blow them boys out. And Russell Westbrook had a nice game. He had a really nice game. He had the crowd going crazy for him. He had there was no boos, because, Russell Westbrook gave his all to OKC. He did everything in his power to try to get a ring for OKC. It just didn't work out. But surprisingly, OKC, they spanked the Rockets, man. I mean, Chris Paul was Chris Paul was looking like the point guard again. That's Chris Paul's nickname, the point guard. Chris Paul, in my opinion, just 2-3 years ago, he hands down was the best overall point guard in the NBA. I don't even think that's anything to debate about. It's just facts. I feel like Chris Paul, when it comes to being a playmaker, making plays, giving the ball to the right person at the right moment. When you combine that with how great he is on defense as well, because Chris Paul, he's a great stealer. Like Chris Paul, he's led the league in steals multiple years. So he, on top of being a great all-around point guard, he plays defense, unlike a player like Stephen Curry. Steph Curry isn't great on defense at all. But you got a guy like Chris Paul. He's a two-way point guard. He can score on you. He can make plays. He can shoot threes, and he can steal the ball from your ass when you least expect it. So OKC pretty much dominated that game, man, and I was shocked because I'm like, okay, you got a team that has these two superstars, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and then you have this other team that has Chris Paul. But Chris Paul is really like the only superstar on that team. Some would even argue that, Chris Paul isn't even in his prime anymore. I disagree. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Chris Paul has looked amazing this year. Chris Paul, in my opinion, has looked like a top 3 point guard this year so far. Obviously, he's healthy. His body feels good. His legs are good. Because he kept having these issues with his legs, but man, when Chris Paul is healthy, man, he is unstoppable. Like, man, against that when they played the Rockets 2 days ago, Chris Paul was putting the ball through niggas' legs and doing all type of crazy fancy shit. Like Chris Paul really wanted to make a statement to the NBA. Like, look, like I'm not washed. Even the reporter asked him after the game. He pretty much asked Chris Paul, like, how do you feel? Because you were out there looking like vintage CP3. And Chris Paul was like, vintage? Like, I'm still in my prime right now. Like, ain't shit changed. You know what I'm saying? Because after last year with Chris Paul on the Rockets, a lot of people wrote Chris Paul off because they just felt like he didn't look like himself. And I just think that this is proof that I don't think a guy like James Harden, unfortunately, is able to play with a superstar. And you know what? Let me rephrase that. I don't think James Harden is able to play with a top level point guard, and the reason why is because he's too ball dominant. it's amazing how as soon as Chris Paul leaves James Harden and goes to a team where he's the star, he's the leader. Because when you're a point guard and you're playing with James Harden likes to be the point guard, even though he's a shooting guard. James Harden likes to bring the ball up the court. James Harden is the guy that likes to, give the assist. James Harden is the guy that always wants to score. Like how many times have we seen James Harden just bring the ball up court and just dribble, and then when it's 10 seconds left, he does a step back three, or he rushes to the paint to try to get a foul call, or he does some crazy shit. And when you're a point guard like Russell Westbrook and Chris Paul, it's just not gonna work out because you're so used to being a point guard. You're so used to being the guy that's bringing the ball up court. Like, for example, even when James Harden was on OKC with Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, he was coming off the bench. Okay? He was coming off the bench. He wasn't the same James Harden he is today. Okay? So Russell Westbrook for his entire career has been the ball dominating guy because he's the point guard. He's the one that's going to bring the ball up court and decide whether he's going to either pass it to somebody that's open or just try to score it. Because we know Russell Westbrook, even though he is a point guard, he does play like a shooting guard. Okay? So when you have a guy like James Harden, you're not going to be able to just, and this is for any point guard, you're not going to be able to just come to his team and just dominate the ball, because James Harden needs that ball in it. See, the way that James Harden plays today, he needs the ball in his hands. He needs to be able to dribble, step back, shoot. He needs to be able to bring the ball up court, throw the assist for Capella, because James Harden looks at it like, this is my team. And the reason why it didn't work out with Chris Paul is because Chris Paul wasn't able to be Chris Paul. Chris Paul wasn't able to be that same point guard that he was on the Clippers, where he's bringing the ball up court. He's throwing the alley-oop dunk to DeAndre Jordan or Blake Griffin. He's the one that's setting up this guy for a three. And if you notice, that first time they went up against the Warriors, where they almost beat the Warriors, Chris Paul was still able to play like Chris Paul. But him and James Harden were arguing a lot. Him and James Harden were butting heads. Why? Because James Harden wants to be the star. James Harden wants to have the ball in his hands. James Harden wants to bring the ball up court. James Harden wants to dribble until it's 10 seconds left on the shot clock. And it's just not going to work. It's not going to work when you play with a guy like that. It's just not. I honestly don't believe that James Harden is going to be able to win an NBA championship in his career if he does not change his playing style, bro. It's just not going to work. This collaboration so far with Russell Westbrook, in my opinion, has been a disaster. There's been games where Russell Westbrook is just standing on the corner, just like watching James Harden dribble, throw the alley to Clint Capella, dribble, step back three, dribble, attack the paint, try to draw a foul call. We've seen Russell Westbrook take a step back when it comes to his efficiency on the scoring side of the court. He's taking a step back. Why? Because he's not able to play his game. He has to be able to play his game, bro. And that's the problem. When you're playing with players that aren't able to stay in their role and they want to have multiple roles, shit is not going to work out. And that's the problem with James Harden. I think we've seen James Harden play with enough superstars to realize that this guy he's pretty much what Kobe was. You guys, okay, so put it this way. Do you guys remember when everybody was calling Kobe Bryant a ball hog? Do you guys remember when everybody was saying that Kobe is such a ball hog that he's causing his team to lose? You guys remember that? This was happening like a couple years before he retired, where everybody was just tired of seeing Kobe just be a ball hog. And this is exactly what's happening with James Harden. James Harden has fallen in love with being the superstar and being the leader of the team, so much to the point where it seems like James Harden cares more about dropping 30 or 40 every night than getting everybody in his team involved. And there's just no way that you're gonna win a championship playing like that. Now, when they first traded Chris Paul for Russell Westbrook, I thought they were gonna win a championship. Why? Because you got James Harden and Russell Westbrook, who grew up together. They're both from LA. They both went to the NBA Finals together against the Miami Heat. And these are two players that really like each other. But I also thought that out of respect for his friend Russell Westbrook, I thought James Harden would kind of take a step back to just let Westbrook be who he is. And that's just a ball-dominant point guard that, does everything to help his team win. But, I was wrong, man. James Harden is playing exactly how he played the last 2 years. And that's just keeping the ball in his hands, over-dribbling, not getting his teammates involved enough, and just trying to be the star of the show. And Russell Westbrook, man, you need to request a trade. You need to request a trade. I think Russell Westbrook would fit much better on another team than he fits right now on the Rockets. Now, if you're asking me what team do I think should try to get Westbrook, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I will say this. The Los Angeles Lakers, they most definitely need a point guard. That's all they've been talking about. There's even rumors going around that they're actually trying to trade Kyle Kuzma because they really are looking to get a point guard. They're really looking to get somebody that can be that starting point guard, because right now they keep switching with. Right now they have Avery Bradley playing point guard. But next week, they might have Rajon Rondo playing point guard. You already seen they had LeBron James playing point guard. And I actually believe that maybe Russell Westbrook, if Russell Westbrook was to go to the Lakers with LeBron and AD, I'm not saying that it would be the perfect match, but it'll definitely be an upgrade for whatever position they have playing point guard right now. So we'll see, man. I don't know. Like, you guys let me know. What team do you guys think Russell Westbrook should get traded to? But I just think that, for his career, for Russell Westbrook to continue being a successful player in the NBA, he has to leave Houston. It's just not going to work out. With that being said, it's your boy Wavy. I'm out.